Great. So welcome to our workshop. Today we'll be covering how to make our LinkedIn account and our resume. I'm Toshiya Kobayashi, the founder and president of Junior Economic Club. I'm joined with my executive boards, Adam, and Jilly, you, McKay, Sophie, Ray, and Stella. So we'll just get right on it. Let me share my screen. Okay, so how to make a resume and a LinkedIn account. So first of all, what is LinkedIn? A lot of you youth are asking what LinkedIn is, what is it for? What's the benefit of having a LinkedIn? So LinkedIn is one of the most popular career profile sites currently on the internet. It allows people to get connected with employees, employers, and then co-workers and all that to gain your network. It's more of a, think of it as a network building app. And yeah. So as I said, network building, one really important way of gaining an insight is really having a great network. And then that's how most people can receive jobs, internships, and etc. So cover letter, some of you might have it already, if some of you might not. This is totally optional. Most people just have a resume and without a cover letter, which is fine. But cover letter usually includes who you are, your interest in a specific position that you're applying for. So in this case, you'll be using a cover letter or writing a cover letter for each job that you're applying for, and why you're suitable for this position and why the firm might want to hire you instead of other applicants. So why write a cover letter? It's a great opportunity for you to stand out from other applicants, and you can share about yourself, get more insight and more of a human approach with your missions, and explain gaps in your resume if there are, and if you have any specific projects or things that you worked on that you want to explain, it's a perfect opportunity for you to do that in a cover letter. So introduction, there's a lot of ways to open a letter, and you can have a lot of approaches. But the traditional method is you start with Dear Sir or Madam. I'm writing for you to apply to position of marketing manager with Thomas Company. And then there's the passion approach, which is on the right-hand side. I've been giving my friends and family freestyle advice since I was 10, and I recently decided it's time to get paid for it. And that's why I couldn't believe it when I found a personal stylist for position at J. This would work. It is recommended to do the passion approach for any type of creativity industry or the arts industry. And then the rest, you would just go with the traditional method because there's, no harm in doing the safe way, which is the traditional method. Great. So introduction of your cover letter would be just the basic interest in the company, why you want to apply for this job, and then why it interests you. Attribute or accomplishment would also be in your introductions. It is the part where you just, explain your accomplishments, what you have done, what your interest and your career opportunities. Another thing you can add on your introduction would be humor or creativity. So this is really, like I said, for the creative jobs, it's really recommended for creative or arts introduction cover letter. But for others, I would recommend you to just go with the strict traditional method. So the body of the cover letter, this is where you sell yourself to an employer. This is where you might want to explain like what kind of skills you have, what kind of to highlight your achievements and your personal goals. And then just basically a lot of technical and academic stuff. So if you majored in business management, you would go with business management at blah, blah, blah university. and you would explain why that degree would help you in this career position. And then the closing would be just thanking the admissions and then the employer for your time, and then for them to going over your cover letter and your resume and application as a whole. I would highly recommend you to add some notes like, I would love to schedule time for us to discuss, or set a time for a meeting, because I really think that personal connections and having a really talk instead of going over the cover letter is a far more strong, it leaves a strong impression. Okay, so now we're going to get into the resume building side. So resumes are really important because it's what your how do you say, your life's track, as I call it. You know, where you worked, where you went to school, what's your skills, what's your interests and all that. And then resume would be really clear and compelling to present information to employers that they might want to know. So there's a lot of different types of resumes. Today I'll be going over the traditional regular resume. Here I have the template, and I'll just be quickly going over each part of the resume. So first, the most important thing is your name, your full name, your first name and your full last name in the center and the top part of your resume. On the right-hand side, you would include your phone number, your email address, and then if you do have one, your LinkedIn account or any other networking apps, or your username, but most likely you'll be using a LinkedIn. On your left-hand side, you will be adding your home address. This is for the employers to get in touch if they want to mail something. Usually a lot of the contracts are physical paper-based, and then you might need to send in the signature and all that. So make sure to add your addresses. The second part is going to be your education. So for us high schoolers, you will be adding your high school diploma, and then you would have your expected graduation year and month. Within that high school diploma section, you'll be having your school. So for example, in here would be St. Mary's International School in Tokyo, Japan. I would highly recommend you to put any relevant coursework such as, you know, AP Micro, Macro, Calculus. Really depends on what kind of industry you're going to be applying for, but it's really, really recommended that you put those in there. If you attended multiple high schools, this is where you would just add another school just below the first one. It will be Lawrenceville Academy, Nickendale, New Jersey. And then the date that you attended there, and then again, relevant coursework and all that. For those of you who received any university credit, or if you've done any university coursework, this is a great opportunity for you to talk about it, but just list it on here. So in here would be Wharton School, the University of Pennsylvania, the date, and then the course, which would be something like entrepreneurship or business management, etc. Next up, we have the work experience section. In here, we would have any work experience that you've had. And don't get confused with work experience and volunteering experience, because that would be the next section that we're going to be talking about. So work experience is something like, you know, the member of Junior Economic Club of Tokyo. You participate in multiple events. Maybe you ran events, maybe you're a board member, or you may be helping out with the JEC. But this is a great opportunity for you guys to talk about it. Like I said before, you're going to be adding the date and year, and the quick introduction of what you have done. And it is really recommended that you put a link as well, so that the employees or employers can take a look at the website and get some more details of what you've done. The next section would be service and volunteer experiences. So in here, it would be a lot of your service-oriented organizations. I know there's a bunch in here in Tokyo, like TEL, Second Harvest Tokyo. Or in my case, it would be the Boy Scouts of America. You would add, you know, certain positions that you've had, and then like before, you would just adding some explanations. And then the dates is really also important as well. Next up, if you have any internships, this is also a great part for either your work experience. It really depends on what kind of internship you've done. So in my case, I did an internship for Governor David Ige in Hawaii. We had a lot of environmental projects where we were able to collect 68 kilograms of trash and install trash cans for all state beaches in Hawaii. But that's something that you might want to add for your service and volunteer experience, not as your work experience. And then community service programs, if you have participated in any community service at school or outside of school, it would also go into your volunteer section. So skills and training, this is really interesting. And it might be hard for you to understand like what's your skill, but I say just go for it. So if you're really good at networking or communications, go ahead and add it in there, because a lot of the employers would want to know about that, and then it will be a good conversation starter for your interviews or if you schedule any meetings or such. If you're bilingual, this is a really strong part of your application or your resume. If you're native in Japanese, English, Chinese, or any other languages, I would highly recommend that you put on your skills section. Nowadays, a lot of employers are looking for that bilingual candidates, and then that might be the difference between you and John Doe getting the position. And then last, it would be sports or any awards that you received. And here we have varsity soccer, St. Mary's International School, captain of the varsity soccer team, or MVP of the year, and all that. So this is think of it as your interest section or your hobby section. If you like soccer, or in my case, I was the Hawaii State representative for rugby. And then that's where we would put your sports and all that section. Okay, so now that we've went through the resume section, I will just go back to our presentation. Okay, so how to write a chronological resume? Like I said before, you just have name and contact info, summary, professional, educational, and skills, and all that. I will be sending this slide as well on our email. So if you want to go dive into more depth for different types of resumes and all that, you're more than welcome to. But I just went through the basic resume section, so it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so personal information, this is something I just wanted to touch on a little bit. The must-have on your resumes are your phone number, your email address, and then your address. Those three things is really important, because it's one way to get in contact, one way to check your network if you have anyone that might work in the same industry or in the same company. In that case, the firms, they can just go ahead and contact your friends or whatever, and get some more insight on who you are, and what it doesn't show on your resume. All right, so education, this is another pretty important thing. If you have any university credit, that might be, it might be beneficial for your internships or your jobs. I would recommend putting on there, but as I said, it should correlate with what you're applying for. So for example, if you're applying for an internship at Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, and if you've taken any university credit for arts or performing arts, or music theory or something like that, it's great that you have those credit, but it might not be beneficial for you to add it on there. So I would recommend not to. unless you have any, any credits such as like finance, accounting, business management, or anything like that. You might, if it correlates with what you're applying for, go ahead, but if not, try to avoid it. All right, so now I'm gonna go dive into the LinkedIn section. So LinkedIn is a really impressive and really useful resource for you guys to have. It also creates a resume for you if you just fill out your LinkedIn. So that's one benefit of having a LinkedIn, as well as you get to connect with others and all that. So here's a typical profile of your LinkedIn. You would start obviously just with your name and your current position of any that you want to talk about. In my case, it will be the national cabinet member. On the far right, if you have the position, it will automatically show the logo, as well as any relevant education that you've received. Another thing is profile pictures should be very professional looking. I would definitely recommend getting either a headshot or a picture of you with like a suit, jacket, tie, or anything like that. Okay, so in the about section, this is where you would put any highlights of your accomplishments. So it might be founder and president at Junior Economic Club, founder and CEO at Mental Refresh, and then national cabinet member, as I stated before. This is just highlight and then getting some in touch on what kind of person you are and all that. Okay, so this is the experience section. You can, if you go to the far right top corner, you can add an icon. And the title would be, like national cabinet member or manager or anything like that. The employment type, part-time, permanent, self-employed, freelance, contract, internship. For most of you, it might be an internship, it might not. This is where you would show what kind of employment type. So for example, self-employed is for those who started their own firm and then you are, you're employed by yourself or by your own company. And part-time, if you work at Starbucks as a barista or anything like that, you might want to put it on there. But mostly internships and part-time would be, permanent would be ones that they will be looking for. So this is where the company name would go. I don't know, Apple, Amazon, all of that. You would just go ahead and, add it there. Okay, location is really important because you might want to think about ahead of your future, right? And then think about what kind of jobs you're interested in after your current position that you're applying for. Or if you work already, make sure to add locations because for employers, when they look at LinkedIn, they really look at the location as well, where you're working, where you worked before. If you worked in a different country, great. That means you have a lot of experience and different types of networking and all that might be beneficial for you. This is really simple, just the start date and the year. And then if you finished working there, you just add the end date. Headline would be where it would show up on below your name. Okay, so if you have multiple positions within the same organization, just go, if you go and try to add it, it will automatically do it for you. Just make sure to put in the same company name, because I know a lot of companies have subsidiary companies that you might mix it up with. If you do that, it'll show as a different company. But just that's something to just be careful for. Okay, so education, this is where you would put your education. For now, I have my elementary school and my high school and my university credit. But once you start attending university, you might want to get rid of the elementary section, and then if you would like to keep the high school section, go ahead. It really depends on what kind of high school you went. If you went to a boarding school with strong network, you might want to keep it there. That goes the same with elementary schools. If you went to like a well-known elementary school, especially in Japan or any other country, you might want to keep it there just for the network building sake. Okay, the next one would be license and certifications that you might have. So a really common one I see on resumes are CPR and AED, and then that's really just a quick intro of what kind of license you have. If you have a pilot license, great, go ahead and put it on there. It's really unique. It just stands out of your overall application. All right, so the next section would be volunteer experience. This is where you would put your volunteer. Like I said before, it would be like Second Harvest Tokyo, or American Chamber of Commerce or anything like that. If you worked in volunteering at school as well, go ahead and put it on there. All right, so the next section would be skills and endorsement. You can add any type of skill that you might think that you're good at. So you can add, and you can look for, let's say, networking, right? Networking administration, network security, all that. And then what this allows you to do is for your contact to add any recommendation. For example, if you can go leadership, project management, hey, blah, 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 did a really great job on this project. I really enjoyed working with him, and etc. So it's just for you to have your contact to just get in contact. Okay, so last but not least, we have the accomplishment section. It's usually so if you go there, you have publication, which is if you were in like a newspaper, in your local newspaper, or if your project has been published or anything like that, you might want to go ahead and put it on there. Patent, I don't think it might apply for you, so I'll just go ahead and skip that part. Courses, this would be types of university credit that you received or anything like that, but I would recommend putting the university credit on the education section, so it just shows up on your headlines. But yeah, project, if you worked on any service project or any project at school with your friends, etc., it's a great place for you to share that and all that. Honor and awards, that would go like around here. If you receive any awards within your volunteering, your work, like the before soccer MVP, that would go under the honors section. Test scores. So if you really want to put in your like SAT, TOEFL might be a good one, or any English certifications for job application, it might look great, especially if you're like an international candidate. And if they require certain test scores, it might just be good to put it on there. Languages, this is where you just put your language you're native in, or if you go here, actually it gives you the proficiency. Elementary, limited, work, so all that. Just pick the one that applies to you, and don't lie, because a lot of employers will test you on it. They might just get so let's say if I'm native in Japanese or English, they might just get a Japanese American or someone who speaks Japanese as your interviewer, and they might just speak in Japanese, and if you can't, that doesn't really look good on your interview. Organizations, if you're part of any organization within your community, just put it on there. If you attend church or anything like that, you might want to, but it's really up to you. The causes section is really interesting, because if you have any causes or movement that you're really passionate about, go ahead and write about it. And if you've done anything for those causes, that's another great part for you to share your experience. All right, so that's pretty much it for LinkedIn. if you go to build a resume within the more section, it automatically gets you, let me see. JC. So this would, all right, so if you go to the resume section, it just gets you everything, right? Your name, your email address, your LinkedIn, the summary and experience and all that, like I showed before, and then you can just print this off if you really want to, but I would recommend you go ahead and actually make one for yourself. All right, so that's it for LinkedIn and the resume section. Yeah, and then if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our JEC email, and then we'll be more than happy to assist you.